Welcome, everybody, again to another episode of B&B Hockey Talk. I'm Aaron Blocks with my co-host, Mr. Matt Balzer. End of the week, Friday, and my God, we finally have more than two hockey games on. It's just been killing me. This bye week crap is just absolutely horrendously painful to go through. I know there's been a few games the last few days, only a couple games here, a couple games there. Finally, there's more than two tonight. What was your takeaway from the All-Star festivities before we get into some of the trades and some of the bigger things happening around the NHL?
Yeah, so I watched a bit of the skills competition. I can proudly say I watched maybe a couple minutes of all the entire games that they had after the next day. But yeah, my eyes were on the skills competition, which is usually the more entertaining out of both events. And all eyes were on Kendall Coyne Sheffield in that fastest skater competition, taking 14.346 seconds, which beat out Clayton Keller from the Arizona Coyotes on the fastest skater. And of course, you had Connor McDavid doing his thing, winning. But yeah, it was very impressive to see some of the ladies out there, even Brianna Decker as well in the accuracy passing as well, doing her thing there. But yeah, that was my big takeaway. But other than that, it was just same old for the All-Star weekend.
Well, I know it was a nice touch by the NHL to have the women players there. Interesting enough, I know when Heiskanen fell during the fastest skater, I think guys were really cautious about falling. I don't think they went as fast as they could have. Obviously, McDavid, though, was the one to beat. Clayton Keller, does he get chirped that a girl beat him, or does he just turn around, get chirped, and then skate faster than the guy that chirps him?
I know, yeah. Well, I think if I'm Keller, I'm just glad I didn't fall like Heiskanen. I'm actually surprised that I think the NHL had switched that those guys wear their helmets or whatever in past years' competition. So I'm surprised that they weren't wearing their helmets just for safety reasons. You don't want a guy flying around the corner and then smacking his head against the ice or the boards or something like that. But yeah, if I'm Clayton Keller, it's just like, hey. It's you do your best sort of thing, and then but yeah, you got to give her props for being as fast. And apparently, she was even faster in one of her practice runs before the competition too. So
Man,
it was pretty.
She absolutely flew around that rink.
Mm-hmm.
Looked like Mike Modano. Instead of the jersey flowing, she had the hair flowing. So Tony Monte. Bringing up the past, right? Hey,
Man, those mullets.
I watched the All-Star game itself.
Mm.
I was shocked at how bad the Pacific Division was. They're usually the top team. When you have Doughty, Carlson, and Burns as your defensemen, they usually do quite well and play somewhat structured, but they just really didn't care. Trying to put on a show for the Shark fans, and I think that's what basically declined them this year.
Yeah.
Those rosters, I mean, Sidney Crosby named MVP. Putting him and Letang and Matt Barzal together was disgusting. Some of the passing and toe drags and stuff from those guys is just – it was almost ridiculous. Mm. But congratulations to Sidney Crosby. Toronto Maple Leafs pull off a massive trade, curing what everybody knew they needed to do, is bringing in a defenseman. But instead of bringing in a right-sided defenseman, they bring in a left-sided defenseman, which now moves Morgan Riley to the right side.
Mm.
Two prospects, pretty good prospects, and a first-round pick. Good trade for both the Kings and the Leafs, and they get Jake Muzzin. What are your thoughts on this? And does this trade put them in Tampa Bay category, or are they still a step behind? Because to me, I think one injury, one hit, still they don't have the depth I don't think that Tampa has.
Yeah. Tampa's still at the top of the division for me. Muzzin is a really good ad, especially at his cap hit at only $4 million, and they still get another year out of him next year. So that really helps because it looks like they won't be able to hold on to Jake Gardiner at the end of this season. So, but yeah,
you and the Toronto Maple Leaf fans cheering.
Yeah. But it's a great move. Seeing like Muzzin here on the West Coast, he's been a pretty underrated defenseman, and even on a bad LA team, has 21 points in 50 games and is a +10
Yeah.
Which is very impressive for the lack of offense that the Kings put up. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how if Morgan Riley moving over to the right-hand side. We know Mike Babcock, he loves his lefties and his righties together, and he didn't actually seem overly impressed that he had to sort of do that. But he does have history with Muzzin playing. Muzzin played under him at the World Championships a couple years ago for Canada. But yeah, just a very good two-way defenseman, and that really improves the Leafs back end, which they needed to do something. And I'd be interested to see if the Leafs still do make another move to get a right-handed defenseman back there.
I think the Leafs need to make another move. I think they need another defenseman. It doesn't have to be a guy like Muzzin, but I think, just some depth defenseman there in case of an injury, and I think they still need a forward that can crash and bang a little more. Like, I'd be really curious to see if they bring in – I mean, there's rumors out there that Eric Stahl might be a fourth-line fit for them, which is hilarious to me because they're down the middle. If they added Eric Stahl, it would be ridiculous. But to me, I think a guy like Wayne Simmons would actually be a very nice addition to that forward lineup. But Pittsburgh not watching and letting another year go by with Crosby and Malkin still on their lineup, and Kessel and Letang and Matt Murray. They moved Jamie Alexiak back to Dallas. Yes, that's Penny Alexiak's brother.
Yeah.
Everybody knows him as Penny Alexiak's brother now. They moved the big defenseman out, said they're not done yet, and today they pull the trigger and land a couple of Florida Panthers. What do you like about this trade?
Yeah, so getting Nick Bukestad and Jared McCann and moving out unrestricted free agents Derek Brassard, Riley Sheahan, and 3 draft picks to the Florida Panthers. I really like this move for Pittsburgh. Bukestad, huge centerman, 6'6", has put up between 15 to 25 goals, sort of in that range the past 4 years, and can play the center ice or the wing. I really like that. And Jared McCann, 22 years of age. We know him from Vancouver for being the former first-round pick. Very young, has 8 goals, 18 points this year, and is a really good two-way forward. Both of those guys can go in on their third line. And Jim Rutherford, man, this guy just somehow just ends up finding like just great ways to tinker with his lineup every year. Like he brought in Tanner Pearson earlier this year, Marcus Peterson over from Anaheim to help their defense. And they'll get a bit of a boost, I think, later this month, getting Justin Schultz back from that gruesome ankle injury that he had earlier this year, as he's been limited to 4 games. But yeah, I love this move. Both Bukestad and McCann are under contract. Bukestad for the next 2 years and McCann for another year. And Brassard and Sheahan, both UFAs. Florida will most likely look to flip both of those guys, probably depending on where they're at going into the trade deadline. As I saw, they're probably going to make a good run in the offseason at some of the big free agents such as Artemi Panarin and Sergei Bobrovsky to try to beef up their team for next year.
That'd be interesting. There's definitely some guys on the sheet that are available. I keep hearing Matt Duchene's name as well, still going to Pittsburgh. Although now that they've got Bukestad and McCann, I don't know if they want to pull off that type of trade. But you're right. Rutherford every year finds a way to add some people without taking too much. And Justin Schultz, it'll be like adding without really having to give up anything to their lineup already. And I see both players got into the lineup tonight already. Man, that happened fast. And it'll be interesting to see. I think this is a good trade for Pittsburgh. Bukestad, I saw him in Vancouver here earlier this year, and he is a beast. 6'6" forward. Just, man, reminds me of a young Martin Hansel. He's got great hands and great speed for a big guy. He can definitely skate, and his dad was a hell of a hockey player too for the Minnesota North Stars. Moving along, there was some other signings that's happened around the NHL. Why don't you fill us in on that, and as well update us on the recent injury list?
All right. Yeah, so a couple of minor signings. The Carolina Hurricanes gave Jordan Martinook a 2-year, $4 million extension. He has 10 goals, 13 points in 50 games this year. He gets a $200K pay raise. Pretty good fourth liner on the penalty kill.
Former Vancouver Giant.
Yeah. And then the Minnesota Wild re-signed their backup goalie Alex Stalock to a 3-year, $2.355 million contract extension. That's a $785K cap hit. He's 6-5 this year with an .894 save percentage. Basically it's to sign a goalie, so they got somebody qualified for the expansion draft in a couple of years. And the Edmonton Oilers signed Joel Persson to a 1-year, $1 million extension. He's playing over in Sweden with Elias Pettersson's former team, Vaxo. I'm totally going to butcher that name. But yeah, he has 23 points in 37 games. Yeah, and it is interesting to see if he'll make the Oilers next year. Right-handed defenseman with some offense could boost their power play for next season.
Interesting. So injuries as well. You have some updates on injuries, yeah?
Yes. So a couple of guys back. Jamie McGinn, who's been out with a back injury for the entire season, was put on waivers and then sent down to the minors today, which is interesting because I believe his cap hit's over $3 million or something like that. But with the Panthers going younger, that's where they're going. Tuukka Rask was back yesterday from his concussion, so good news there. And some guys going on injured reserve. Andre Kasha suffered a torn labrum and is done for the season with a 5 to 6 month recovery period. So that's another huge blow to the Anaheim Ducks, who just every week it just seems like another guy drops to an injury. And then we have Noah Juleson with the Montreal Canadiens, is basically being shut down for the rest of the season. Looks like if you remember earlier this year, he took a puck to the face that which he had suffered a facial fracture, and apparently he's been having some vision related problems. So hopefully with some rest he'll be able to get back on the ice next year probably. But yeah, hopefully, because any eye injuries like we saw like Brian Berard in his career, how that affected him.
And Matthias Ohlund here in Vancouver.
Yeah, and Matthias Ohlund. And then Yevgeny Malkin is missing both weekend games this weekend for the Pittsburgh Penguins with an upper body injury. Brett Howden, an MCL sprain for the New York Rangers, is out 3 to 4 weeks. And Boone Jenner suffered an ankle laceration blocking a shot, and the cut that he suffered from the block got infected. So he's out 1 to 3 weeks. And David Perron with the St. Louis Blues is out on injured reserve with an upper body injury, and he's actually been ripping it up lately for the St. Louis Blues. But yeah, that's the injury roundup right there.
If the playoffs started today, I'm starting to get excited because there's 30 to 35 games for each team left to play before the end of the season. Playoffs started today. Toronto, Boston, Pittsburgh, Washington. But get this, Islanders, Montreal, and then Tampa against Columbus.
Sheesh.
Man, how do you get through these? To me, the Atlantic, Tampa, Toronto, Boston, and then the Metropolitan. Even though the Islanders are in first, you still got to go through Pittsburgh, Washington, and maybe Columbus. Just disgusting, crazy. What do you do if you're GM of one of those teams? Winnipeg right now, I don't think Winnipeg's the favored Canadian team to go through. I think Montreal with that playoff matchup might be the more favorite one because Winnipeg's got to go through Nashville, right? Toronto's got to play Boston and maybe Tampa. Montreal, if they beat the Islanders, they play the winner of Pittsburgh, Washington, if that's the way it ends up, right?
Yeah. Well, with the thing with Montreal, I'm still not sure about their offense. Bringing it every game. Winnipeg, and if you look at the Calgary Flames as well, I think the way
Carey Price is finally starting to play again, and the way their team's bought in on the offense and defense, I can see Montreal maybe doing something. But you're right, Calgary's a team I never thought of. But Calgary, right now, if playoffs started today, it'd be Calgary against Colorado, Dallas against Winnipeg, Nashville, Minnesota, San Jose, Vegas. Man, San Jose would just be like, oh no, not Fleury again. That would just be a crazy series that goes 7 games with about 12 goals, right? Mind you, it's not Jonathan Quick this time.
Yeah.
Although San Jose, Vegas had a crazy series last year as well.
Mm.
Not as crazy yet in the West because, I mean, the West to me, everyone keeps calling it the Turtle Derby to see who gets in. But, man, the East is exciting. It's going to be crazy. I'm looking forward to it. The one team I want to watch out for in the West, I know Buffalo's still hovering. Sorry, in the East, Buffalo's still hovering around a little bit, but they haven't been playing very good hockey lately. But Philadelphia has won 6 in a row and are slowly creeping up 9 points now out of a playoff spot. I don't know if they can continue that hot streak, but man, Carter Hart has been playing some good hockey for them.
Yeah, so Carter Hart named Rookie of the Month of January, went 6-2-1 with a 9.31 save percentage and a 2.33 goals against average. He's on a 5-game win streak right now. Talking about celebrating in the streets right now, that they actually have a goalie that's playing consistently every single night. You got to be happy. And Anthony Stolarz, if you throw in there earlier this week, had a 38 save shutout against the Rangers as well. So as long as they get the goaltending and they try to shore up defensively a little bit better, Philly always finds some way to make the playoffs and then choke in the first round or something like that. So it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, I think if you're a Philly fan, having Carter Hart there in net, you got to be pretty happy. But the thing is like as you brought up Wayne Simmons earlier this year, they got some guys. Depending on which way they go, they might end up trading some guys for picks and prospects as we get nearer to the trade deadline.
Well, I'm excited that hockey's finally back. This is the stretch drive now to the playoffs. It's going to be crazy to watch. It'll be fun to watch. You can catch all the highlights right on our Facebook page. Remember to like and subscribe to it. Man, I've been fighting this cold and been crazy. But subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to just watch the shows. And comment. Let us know about your favorite team, favorite players. Matt, final word to you.
All right, so just a couple of things out there. Antoine Vermette retired this week. Over 1,000 games played, 515 points, and a Stanley Cup for the Chicago Blackhawks in 2015. Some things to keep an eye on: the Artemi Panarin and Sergei Bobrovsky situation in Columbus. Panarin was actually booed when they announced the starting lineup in Columbus, and he's got like the 17th best points per game in the NHL right now. So I think a lot of teams will be looking at Columbus and seeing what they're going to be doing. Also,
Panarin for Nylander right now. Would you do it if you're Columbus?
Oh yeah, if I was, because if there's no guarantee of getting Panarin re-signed, and I think the Rangers or the Panthers might be the big two guys in the offseason to go out after him, because he's going to be looking for that $10-11 million a season, and those guys will have tons of cap space this offseason to go after both of them. Austin Watson was admitted into the stage 2 of the league's substance abuse and behavioral health program and is suspended indefinitely without pay. As we remember, he was suspended earlier this season for some trying to remember the exact wording.
Was it spousal?
Yeah, spousal abuse before the season. Sorry about that. And then also, the 3 stars of the month: Patrick Kane, 3rd star; Robin Leonard, 2nd star; and Johnny Gaudreau named 1st star of the week. And of course, as Aaron mentioned earlier, you can find all the highlights on our Facebook page. I started posting some before we started recording. Patrick Kane shot out his 900th career point tonight against the Buffalo Sabres. This boggles my mind that he's already got that many points. And if you're looking for the goal highlight of the night already, Michael Backlund for the Calgary Flames scored an incredible Peter Forsberg deke going through about 4 Caps players before finishing it off. Just a crazy goal. But the rest of the highlights will be out later tonight. 8 games tonight, and of course the NHL has to schedule all of them between 4 to 5 p.m. So all the highlights are coming all at once. Sort of thing. I'll try to keep up there.
Well, thanks for watching, everyone, and we will see you guys all next week.